job. I worked on this truck till about 11 o'clock every night. This week, about 11 o'clock every night. This week, because we were short-handed a couple days, and then, yeah, I think that's it. I don't know, I'm kind of pulling a brain fart. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Blessed Performance YouTube channel. Today, I want to talk diagnostics. How to properly diagnose a 6.0 power stroke for this situation. Now, we've done some diagnostic work in the past with you guys on YouTube. Number one being the EVP versus MAP versus Barrow. Today we're going to talk about the snap, crackle, pop that you get at wide open throttle when tuned or not tuned. This customer, this truck's 100% stock other than the lift kit, wheels, and tires. He got it from his dad. It's an 03, beautiful truck, crew cab short box. It's like zero rust and spotless, so he's going to keep it around for a long time, but he brought it to me because he says that he's got just weak on power, low on power. Well, obviously those bad boys don't help, but the guy's owned the truck for a long time, so he can tell a difference that that's not what's causing. So he brought it to us to do some diagnostics, and I want to take this opportunity to show you guys, because we often get calls about why is my truck, feel weak up here, or what's going on here and there. And I wanted to take the opportunity to teach you guys how to diagnose that situation. We're going to also do that on his budget, so there's some things that, number one, I got a few do's and don'ts when it comes to diagnostics, okay? Obviously, for this customer, like I was stating, we're going to work within his budget for diagnostics. I'm a firm believer that there's some things that every 6.0 needs. It does not matter the 6.0 out there. Number one, O-dog ported intake. We've talked about that. Unfortunately, it's not in this budget. Not yet. I'm sure we'll get there. We're going to talk with the customer about the future goals with the truck, and we'll cover that. I guarantee it's going to end up with one because it's worth it. Number two, something no 6.0 can see. And it's kind of stupid, I agree. Why would Ford do that to us? Low pressure fuel. No 6.0 power stroke out there can see that because there's no low pressure fuel sensor in here. So by simply adding a fuel pressure gauge to your pillar, which we offer a kit on our website, it's a complete kit from GlowShift Max Tow Fuel Gauge. I know GlowShift's had their whatever in the past. You know what, I'm here to tell you that whatever they're doing now, they're doing something right. Less than a 1% failure rate. The gauges work. That's really what matters. And when you install a fuel pressure gauge, you can see true fuel pressure on your truck at that point. Crucial in diagnostics. Without it, if you've got a lot of experience, you can usually dial in and tell what's going on. That being said, yes, prematurely we went through, I had my guys diagnose this thing. Needless to say, I put it on hold so I can take the opportunity to show you guys how to do it. So we talked about that, the two things that you need to put on every 6.0. But number one, when it comes to diagnostics, do not do it while you're tuned. The reason being is that when you're tuned, you must scale the ICP sensor, the PSI side, to show a fake number to the FICM to create pulse width. That being said, if you have a scan tool, you can watch ICP voltage, but I always recommend that you go back to 100% stock and diagnose a problem there to start. Now, if it's running good on stock and then you're having a problem on your race tune, then we can usually decipher what that is pretty dang quick. It's fuel or oil, really quick and easy, okay? That being said, I recommend going back to stock, especially when you're sub 600 horsepower, honestly, okay? That's kind of the best way to put it. Really, every 6.0 up to 300cc injectors should start in idle on a stock tune. You do not need to tune your truck to start it after you build it. Your truck should start on a stock tune. That's the best way to start a fresh build is on a stock tune. Because if it won't start on a stock tune, it ain't starting on a custom tune. It's going to get even harder on a custom tune to start. So, always put your truck to stock when diagnosing. I'm covering a lot here. I tend to do that if you guys have been on some of my videos. Because things get to my head and I'm like, hey, I should talk about this and that. Anyways, air compressor. Good job, right on time. Back to the truck. So we're going to show you guys how to diagnose this. Now, another reason I say you to go back to stock is that so many 6.0 owners have an SCT device. The SCT device cannot read ICP PSI properly when you're custom tuned, and it cannot read ICP voltage. So you're kind of up shit creek without a paddle if you're not going to go back to stock. So go back to stock. Number one, if you're going to use an SCT to diagnose this, you're going to have to go back to stock. If you have an Edge CTS3, you can see ICP voltage, which is great, and you can diagnose the majority of your truck in a tune. And if you have a scan tool like a Snap-on or Matco or IDS or what's the other one out there? You guys know what I'm talking about. There's another couple of them out there. Anyways, there's a whole bunch of scan tools out there. If you have one of those, you can usually see ICP voltage, but I still recommend going back to stock so you can watch PSI actual versus commanded kind of thing. So we're gonna show you how to do that here. The customer's complaint was weak on power. Really, there's only a few things that are gonna make it weak on power. Low fuel pressure, low high pressure oil, EBP sensor being plugged, not commanding the proper amount of boost in the truck. So we're gonna walk you through step by step. You know, this truck shows up at my shop. There's some first things I'm gonna do is turn the key on, check Fickham voltage, EBP versus MAP versus barrel, and then we're gonna start cranking on it. Now, on some of these older trucks, these snap-ons won't auto ID, just so you know. If you have an Apollo 9, it won't auto ID, so you gotta go through and tell it what it is. It's a 12 of 03, so it's an 04. Let's see if it'll do it. Vehicle does not support automatic ID. Exit. Continue. So we're gonna go to 04. Vacuum pump's over there just screaming away. And let's see this one. So if you look at this on the, it tells you select model, 5th and 6th VINs if needed, okay? So the 5th and 6th number is going to be on this one, the W, so that means that if you don't have the door tag for some reason, that tells you it's an F250. Go to the F250s, there we go. 4-wheel drive, it's a 6.0. Okay, so first things first, always read all your codes. It's kind of standard, pre-scan. Nope, I don't want to put any information in there. We've got a couple different codes in here for glow plugs, so we're gonna get some stuff fixed on this thing. We've also got a Fickham one that wasn't there prior. That's interesting. That was not there previous to us doing this, so let's see what kind of Fickham voltage we have. So we're gonna go over here to data display. Now, on your SCT, if you guys go watch my other video, how to monitor, you can bring all the stuff up on there and look at it as well. We're gonna go to drivability. I think that's where this one is located. So even though it's got the Fickham death code, it doesn't have a dead Fickham. So if you look right here, it says 48 volts. That's a good Fickham. It was 47.5 just a minute ago. Dropping to 47 there. That's kind of right on the edge. Not the end of the world. There can be codes that are correlated to other things. So we're gonna crank it and see what it does when it drops. It didn't drop voltage at all. So that's interesting that it's throwing the P060-611. I can tell you from experience on these that there's some codes that can be tied together. That's the best way to put it. And if you have weak batteries or something, it can throw a false code as well. Alrighty, so the next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you. So we've got that, we've kind of checked for codes. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go through here, and let me preface this. This is where the SCT X4, although it's great for tuning, it's wonderful, this is where it faults when it comes to diagnostic. It can't see true exhaust back pressure PSI. It's some calculated number that SCT comes up with. Of course, you could take and cross-reference it from one of these bad boys and then kind of like figure out the math to dial it in to where you understand what it's saying, yes. But if you don't have one of these, you can't do that. So an Edge CTS3 can see a true exhaust back pressure, and so can a scan tool. So we're gonna look at this real quick here. We're gonna look at exhaust back pressure. We're right at 13, so that's spot on for our area, so that's reading properly. MAP is right at 12, so that's pretty dang close. The EBP might be just slightly plugged, or the MAP sensor is slightly plugged. And barrel is reading 21 in HG, so that should calculate to right around 12.5. So based on that, I can tell you that this thing really doesn't have an EBP sensor or barometric pressure or a MAP sensor issue. Never a bad idea when you have a truck apart to clean the lines. I'm not gonna lie to you. While we have it apart to do what we're gonna do to fix it, we can 100% take and clean those lines real quick. It ain't gonna take but an extra 5 minutes, so we're gonna do that for the customer, obviously. But here we are, just showing you guys that and how that works. Next, we're gonna go on a drive, and we're gonna watch our pressures while we're driving, alrighty? Now, before we start going, I'm gonna do my due diligence. Try to remember how to bring up ICP pressure. Okay, so there's desired and actual right there. There we go. Okay, so I got the pressure, actual versus desired, brought up. And this thing is super low on fuel, so we're gonna go put some fuel in it while we go on this little test drive. You guys see that right there? We're desiring 3,800 and only getting 800. That is not good at all. That is not good. This truck's got some problems. I'm gonna go put a little fuel in it And we're gonna go back to the shop and we're gonna put a custom tune on this thing next. And I'm gonna show you guys what happens. Go wide open throttle, and it just falls on its face. You guys see that? That is crazy. That is, honestly, I don't even know how this truck still runs. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This thing should not be running. That's impressive that it still runs, to say the least. There we are with that, and yep, I'll be back to show you guys in just a minute what it does when I put a custom tune on it. All right, guys, here we are back in the truck. We're gonna tune it now and hope it starts. I've let it cool down for a little bit because, oh man, it was rough getting back to the shop, let me tell you what. But let's go ahead and get this thing going. Okay, so quick functionality here. If you guys don't know, obviously I've gone over this a little bit in another video, but there's gauges, data log. Vehicle information is where you get all the information for tuning. So if you go under here, now the SCTX4 is the best tuning device for a 6.0 Power Stroke. There's just nothing else that competes with it. Anyways, there's your strategies, ECU, TCU. There's your device info. There's the serial number right there, or it's also on the back right there. And gauges, data logs in right there, but we're gonna program the vehicle. So we're gonna go up here and it gives you a street notice. Hit OK, continue. Now, once this has been married to the vehicle and or tuned, there'll be another option down here where it says exit that says return to stock. And I'll show you guys that when we're done. We're gonna go with Ecobee Street. I'm gonna leave those alone because I have them set in the tune, and we're gonna hit continue. Turn the key off, turn the key on. Now we wait. This is the boring part. I'll be surprised if this thing starts again, guys. It was quite interesting getting back to the shop. It almost died on me pulling into the shop. So, I'll be surprised if it hasn't got its last leg. We got the last little bit of diagnostics on video to show you guys. But if you saw that, like, we were dropping 2,000-3,000 PSI of high pressure oil while we're driving. That's not good. So we're gonna put a diesel side high pressure oil pump in. We're going slightly larger than stock output, not the big old race one, because he doesn't need that. If you guys recall from the last video that we did talking about high pressure oil pumps, there's several options on the market, of course. There's OEM, aftermarket ones from like Bosch Tech and whatnot, and D-Tech, and they work. But if you're looking for the best of the best, this is truly the way to go. It's in his budget, it fits his budget, and it gives him room for future upgrades. Turbo, bigger injectors, tuning, high pressure, all that stuff. The high pressure oil pump can now support it, plus it gives him reliability, and that's the biggest thing right there. As you guys can see, this truck's really nice. I mean, 139,000 miles on it, pretty much stock all the way around. It's awesome that it has made it that long, and it's because it's been taken care of, and we're gonna put some good stuff into it to help it last even longer. Just a light little mild tune on this thing, Ecobee Street, and we're gonna work that high pressure oil system, and hopefully it doesn't leave me stranded on the side of the road. I'll know pretty quick when I pull out of here, if it even starts. So, we're almost done. It's doing the ECU right now. All right, we're back after it got the tune done. Let's see if it'll start. What do you guys think? Stumble started, but it started. You guys hear that long crank like that? You guys hear that? It only got worse. I don't know if you guys can hear it good enough, but you can hear it's not properly injecting fuel because it's not, doesn't have enough high pressure oil. Like, I'm foot to the floor right now, and it ain't doing nothing. Yeah, it's a rough riding son of a gun, but Ecobee Street usually wakes a truck right up. But here's the surge. This thing's got some problems for sure. If you guys notice, it's even worse than when it was stock. So the best way to explain this is, it's only gonna get worse when you work it more. Imagine that coworker. We all know that coworker. Does enough to get by, then they have one of those days where they gotta like shovel more than they want to. And you put more workload on them, and they only get worse. Ah, it's a rough riding truck. It's a leaf spring truck. That's wide open throttle, guys. Yeah. So, this is going to be the diagnostics part of the video. this is the best way to show you guys how this happens. It only gets worse. I've been wide open throttle the whole time, and yet it's bumpy. Oofda. This thing is interesting. Bouncy, 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 bouncy. So now I'm going to pull it back in the shop, but I'm going to let it cool down, and we will go in and replace the high pressure oil pump. Show you guys what happens after we do that. It's really hard to hear on this camera, I'm sure, especially in this truck with the windows down and how loud this truck is. I hope you could hear. You could hear that it wasn't making the iconic 6.0 sound, and it was kind of popping a little bit. That pop is generally a clear sign that not enough fuel is being injected into the cylinder. Whether that be from not enough fuel pressure or not enough high pressure oil, that's the part you got to figure out. That's the part that comes to diagnosing this. Now, like I stated, these don't have a fuel pressure gauge. If I would have done this test and saw that we were holding high pressure oil, I can clearly judge right then and there that it's fuel. So you don't always need a fuel pressure gauge, but it's not a bad thing to add to it. Like I said, we have a kit that goes right into the side of the fuel bowl. Boom, goes right into the, right up here on your A-pillar, and then you always have fuel pressure available to you. But if you don't have the means for that on a weekend and you're just trying to get your truck to diagnose it, you can usually decipher one of those two based on what you're seeing from high pressure oil, which if you have an SCT and you're back to stock, you can see ICP desired and know that when you're going wide open throttle, it should be going like 3,800 PSI. And if it's not, then you got a problem. That's why we always do this in stock. I'm gonna try to make some more of the videos we go along. Might be a second video. I don't know, we'll figure that out. I'm gonna let that thing cool down now before I go dig under the hood. And I'm gonna go get some brake lines, finish up that truck. Here we are. I didn't have time to record the entire working of the job. I worked on this truck till about 11 o'clock every night. This week, because we were short-handed a couple days without some help because people were sick, so just had a couple of late nights. We got the truck finished up. I'm gonna finish mounting the SCT device in here. It definitely starts better, sounds better, runs better. I'm gonna go out and drive it and show you guys how it does now. Let me route the cable for the SCT to be mounted up there, and then we will go out and drive it, alrighty? All right, guys. Now, this truck still has a stock exhaust on it, so we're never gonna get the full 6.0 Chewbacca sound, but if you guys remember earlier in the video, wide open throttle, this thing barely wanted to get out of its way. Now I'm not even going wide open throttle and it's going 10 times faster. So we're making headway for sure. This truck runs a million times better. Still got a few things, but we're kind of hit the budget limit and we know it needs injectors here soon. Unfortunately, the last person who did the job didn't put the oil cooler screen in properly. And that took out the HPOP and probably sent some junk into the injectors. God, this thing is loud with these Toyos on it. And they're definitely old and rotted, so I'm not gonna drive this thing very much. But like I said, whenever you're trying to diagnose a high pressure oil problem, you'll feel the truck be super like just bleh, like it's dead. And then you can also usually hear it in the exhaust, especially if you have a full exhaust kit on your truck, no muffler or anything. This thing's got a muffler and all that good stuff still. You can usually hear it and feel it. And this truck, we could clearly see it on a scan tool that we were not making the ICP we needed to make. We definitely needed an HPOP, got that fixed, and it runs a million times better. Not sure if you guys heard that, it'll actually burn the tires now, which is a huge improvement over what it was. If you've got a built truck, the best way to watch ICP is ICP voltage. A stock truck, return it to stock to diagnose it. I'd say a sub 190/30 truck, you can return it to stock to diagnose the problem, the high pressure oil, and see what it's commanding and what it's keeping up with. And then if it does do it on stock, but it's not keeping up it on your extreme tune or something, on your race tune, then you need to watch ICP voltage on that. And that's where your SCT device isn't gonna help you. So that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, I mean, I guess really don't know what else to say right now. When it comes to diagnosing a high pressure oil issue, it can be quite the pain in the ass, okay? And here's why. Whenever you have a high pressure oil leak that's severe, guess what happens? The truck won't start when it's hot or cold. We all know that. A 6.0, you go through the drive-thru, shut the truck off, it doesn't start up anymore. It's happened to you if you own a 6.0. Don't even lie to me. It's happened to me. And then you're like, son of a bitch. It can happen to any 6.0 owner out there. what I'm trying to say is that those are pretty easy to diagnose because you can hook up a IPR tool and put air pressure to the IPR, which then allows you to pressurize the system or through the IPR port, pressurize the system, and then from there you're able to listen for the oil leak or the air leak. When you get up to where your truck will start and run, but it won't make the power it's supposed to make, it can be a little more difficult to diagnose. This being an 03, early 04, late 03, it was pretty easy to diagnose this one. We know that these HPOPs are junk in the grand scheme of things. In the grand scheme of things, the oil system, the standpipes on these are pretty reliable, and being the log style rail, it doesn't have dummy plugs, so we know that those are pretty reliable. They usually don't leak. They don't have the problems that the 04.5 plus have. So because of that, I immediately, and then watching the data, you could see that it was commanding 3,000, 3,700, only holding like 1,800, so we know that the HPOP's bad. So right off the bat, we knew that straight out the gate. Unfortunately, for this one, because the oil cooler screen wasn't installed properly, that's what took out the HPOP. Now, if I knew that I had a good HPOP and I was still having high pressure oil issues to where I wasn't keeping up with ICP in this situation, but I know I've got a good HPOP, it can be a little difficult to diagnose. And the reason being is in your general rule of thumb when it comes to your home, your air pressure, your air compressor usually makes about 150 psi of air. Well, when we're having an ICP issue at 1,500, 2,000 psi, how are you going to pressurize the system? You can't. So sometimes you have to go into it with the mindset, you know what, standpipes, dummy plugs are only a couple $100. Ball tubes, nipple, cup, O-rings, they're only a couple $100. Let's just replace all of that in the system and then get it all fresh for $400 in parts and then go from there. And sometimes that's what you have to do, and you'll find it on the last O-ring you take out. You know, you'll be tearing through the system. You'll pull standpipes, dummy plugs. None of the O-rings look too bad, but you've already got the new ones, so let's just put the new ones in. And then you pull the oil rails off and you look at your ball tube O-rings and you get to the last one, and that's where you find the torn O-ring that's causing your drop in ICP. And you're like, really? Could have replaced just one O-ring for $1. Well, you did all the work. Why not replace all of it? It takes a lot of work. It's a lot of work to pull the valve covers on these. I mean, within respect, yes, I know somebody's gonna say, no, it's not, Matt. Well, it's not, no, but it is. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to spend all that labor to replace one O-ring. Replace all of them, guys. It's not that expensive to own one of these trucks, and it's not that difficult of a job to do, but it is time consuming, so save yourself the time and go into it with knowing that you're gonna replace all of them. We know this truck needs injectors. It starts okay in the cold, it's not great. The reason it needs injectors is because the fact that that oil cooler screen wasn't put in correctly. So any junk that went through the oil system, guess where it went? Right into the injector, into the spool valves and solenoids. Unfortunately, the customer's budget doesn't allow for that right now. We're gonna save up, but I can tell you this right now, when I go in there and do injectors, I'm doing everything. I'm not doing partial. I don't do partial, and I'm trying to teach you guys that it's gonna save you time to do it all the first time instead of doing it 6 times. $400 for all the O-rings, all the updates to your high pressure oil system, and about 4 hours of labor, or $100 for this or $1 for that and 4 hours of labor 16 times. I promise you, you're gonna be a lot happier if you go in and rebuild it all in one swing of the bat. If you got any questions, give me a call. I'd be glad to chat with you. I'd be glad to share some information, help you diagnose the situation. I hope this helps somebody diagnose their problem. Unfortunately, this truck had a muffler and can't really hear the sound that you need to hear that I wanted to show you guys. The next one that comes in that has the same problem, I'm gonna do it again. Hopefully that one doesn't have a muffler on it, and then from there we'll be able to let you hear the snap, crackle, pop. You can feel it when you're driving, you can see it in the power, but you can't hear the truck going pop, 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 pop. And you can't hear that with the muffler on there. Because of that, you couldn't hear the drop in ICP every time it drop and come back. It does the same thing with fuel pressure or ICP. So like I said earlier in the video, once you notice that you're having this problem, then you need to decide whether it's ICP or fuel pressure, and you can do that by doing a gauge, by a fuel pressure gauge, or if you have a scan tool or return your truck to stock and use your SCT, you can do that and see high pressure oil, and that'll help you decide whether it's high pressure oil or fuel pressure. Yes, when you're tuned, it's gonna be worse. Now I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain this. Imagine you work at an office job and you're used to your 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, working at the bank, whatever. It's an easy job. It's a good job, but it's an easy job. You know, you don't have a lot of physical labor in there. So your body's used to something. Well, all of a sudden you got to go dig a trench to put in a water pipe at your house, and you don't want to pay the plumber to do it, so you're going to pay yourself to do it by doing the job. Now you're putting yourself through some major physical exercise. You're going to realize that, oh crap, my back isn't in the best shape, or man, my arms aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. So you overexert yourself and you find that a weak point in your body. Well, it's the same thing with a truck. The guys that tell me, or you tell yourself, But on stock, it runs fine, Matt, and I put the Ecobee Street, or I put my street tune, whoever street tune it is, or my race tune from it, whoever it is, the truck falls on its face. Well, now you're working the truck. You're actually making it work harder. You're commanding more of it. And it goes back to that same concept that if you're commanding more of your body, you're gonna find a weak spot in your body. Well, the same thing in your truck. You put more load on the truck, you're gonna find more weak points in the truck. I hope that explains that enough to where you can, it helps you understand what I'm trying to explain here. Because my goal at Blessed Performance and all of my team's goal is really, truly, the best way to put it is we want to help you. We want to help you have a healthy, good running truck. Like, we want to help you solve the problems. We spend more time than anybody else actually diagnosing problems on the phone. I can promise you that. I spend a lot of time helping guys diagnose, telling them what to look for, where to go, and what to do to find the problem in their truck. And it truly is like a passion of mine, that is to help people. That's just who I am. So, and anybody at Blessed Performance should be the same way. And if they're not, you call me, let me know, I'll take care of it. That being said, our goal is to help people. And I want to explain what's happening when you take your truck from a stock tune to a race tune and show you what's happening. And I hope this video helps that, okay? Before I ramble on much more, really appreciate your guys' opportunity, your guys' support, I should say. We really appreciate your support, the ability to do this. We wouldn't have that without you. I'm gonna get back in the shop, get to work, get to help with some other customers, call this customer, tell him to come pick his truck up and enjoy it for the weekend. And we look forward to the next one. Be sure to click like, subscribe, follow, check out all of our social media accounts. We got them all: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, I think. 1-800-577-2698 and blessedperformance.com.